Hello, everyone. Good evening from Mumbai and welcome to our session. This is the final event for the Data Visualization Challenge for Safe Spaces and Women's Safety. And welcome to our guests from Ireland, because I could see a lot of Irish names, but welcome from wherever you're joining. You could be from India or Ireland or any other country. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And I'm really excited because this project started about over 6 months ago, when I was first introduced to Alison Riley, the Deputy Consul General of the Consulate General of Ireland in Mumbai. And we decided to do something. It initially started as a project for 16 days of activism to end gender-based violence in November, but then we realized we wanted to do it well. We wanted to engage students in Ireland and in India. And so we got on partners from UDC, that's the University College of UCD, University College of Dublin, and also education in Ireland, and it took on a bigger project. So we are very happy that today we are at the end of it, but just for those who are not familiar, I'm going to recap a little bit. What we did was we opened up the registrations for students in Ireland and India to sign up for this data visualization challenge on the topic of gender-based violence and safe public spaces. The idea was to first introduce them to the topic, get them a little more engaged in understanding what does it mean, because we use these words, we may have heard of these terms, but we don't necessarily know the spectrum of violence, how it impacts us, what is the role we can do as bystanders, and so on. And we then had 200 applications, which was really exciting. And we ended up with 70 team members across 11 teams. Last week, they pitched. So it started on the 1st of February. The challenge itself was 3 weeks, 1st of February to the 21st of February. And during this time, we had several master classes. So there was one on gender sensitivity and understanding gender-based violence. We had Professor Eleni Mangina and her team from UCD do a master class on data visualization techniques. And it was really interesting. Then we had a couple of other friends, one of the jury members, Ritu David, who showed us how tech can be made through an empathetic design. And we had Kritika, who is called the Workplace Doodler, show us how visualizations can be fun. And so this, we hope, help the participants think about visualization in broader terms rather than just graphs. And we were pleasantly surprised when we saw those visualizations last week, and the jury picked 5, but we also felt that number 6 opened up a space for conversation. So we added 6. So today we're going to have 6 of those teams present their visualizations. But this was a great team effort. So of course, I want to thank Alison Riley from the Consulate General of Ireland in Mumbai and her team. I want to thank Wendy D'Souza from Education in Ireland. They are also the sponsors of the prizes. I want to thank Professor Eleni Mangina and her team for being so supportive during this whole journey. Of course, the participants themselves who were very, very engaged in the whole process, submitted their assignments, even though they had multiple challenges. And to be honest, doing all of this in the virtual space is not easy. It's become part of our lives and part of our daily routines. But let's not forget that it's very, very difficult to juggle all the responsibilities and yet participate in the challenge. But I hope you had fun, because we did want it to be, a creative experience for you, fun, collaborative experience where you met students from across the border. And maybe one day you can meet in person, hopefully fingers crossed. Of course, I'd like to thank our jury members, and I will invite Vaibhavi to say a few words also about it. But we had jury members from Ireland and India, and they've been absolutely, absolutely fantastic. So Vaibhavi, would you like to thank the jury members?
With all my heart. It has been so much fun interacting with everybody. Um, um, Especially the jury meet that we had when we sat down trying to understand each student's submission, and it was really great to see how the jury was very, very enthusiastic in understanding what the thought process of all the students were. So we're really happy and we look forward to it. Thank you so much. Thank you, jury.
So just for everyone's note, the jury is, I'm going to read out in no particular order. Reena Dayal, she's the board chair, Quantum Ecosystems and Technology Council of India. Ritu David, who's the founder of the Data Dark. Kavita Riley, who is the principal program manager tech for Microsoft. Afreen Siddiqui from UNDP, she's the regional lead for government innovation. Bhanu Prasad, who is the coach, Impact Innovation, Entrepreneurship, Partnerships, Digital Impact Square, which is a TCS Foundation initiative. We had Gautam Singhal, who is the Senior Superintendent of Police, Economics Offences Wing, Vigilance Bureau, Punjab. Rakesh Arya, who's also from the head, he's the Deputy Inspector General of Police Administration and Training for the Haryana Police. Of course, Professor Eleni Mangina, who is from the University College of Dublin, and we have Claire Keeney, who's from Safe Ireland. So we had a really diverse set of jury members, and I can tell you they were all very impressed. So thank you, jury, for this difficult task. I'm just glad that I didn't have to do it. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over back to Vaibhavi to start with the pitches. And please say how much time each team has.
Thank you so much, Elsa. So here we are at the final front, very excited. So first we'd like to invite team one with their pitch. Once again, the idea is that each team will have 5 minutes. In those 5 minutes, you have to focus on 3 main elements, which is first, your key features of the visualization. Second is the impact area. And the third is what is your next step? What is the call to action with the visualization that you have presented? So with that, I would like to yield the floor to team one, Swapnil.
Hi, hello, very good evening and very good afternoon to everyone. I'm not able to share my screen actually.
Try now.
Okay, yes. So we focused on the study area is the Bihar and the Patna state. So this is the visualization video which we have based on our study. So based on our data visualizations, we have pitching two ideas. The first idea, which are we talking about the public space interventions, and the second idea is about the stay safe interventions. So our first idea is talking about the public safe interventions. The major observations we have as compared to the other state, the data we have got for the visualization, there is nothing much us to visualize because there are not many much entries, because people are not coming up and they are telling there any interventions. So we have proposed a booth like which is for the any message booth in a public place. So we will be identifying the public place in a Patna city, and the booth name we have proposed is Kahani, maybe Sabki Apni Ek Kahani, that the everyone stories, so that everyone will come and share their story. And the idea of pitching a name in a Hindi as well, to give a to propose the idea to give this idea in a language, to because to connect with the people more. And the idea outcomes which we are thinking and come up in a two ways. The first is the interaction between the individuals and sharing the stories and writing the stories on a e-wall. So we are proposing a digital booth, and we can talk about the incidents, and maybe number of people they come up with this key idea, because they are particular road in a city, a particular area in a city which is not safe, because number of many people they have incident except they have encounters maximum incident there. And also the like there is any particular digital message on a booth wall, or maybe some short stories and the cartoon stories which we can promote over there. And also we can talk about the awareness about the legal actions and the lodge complaints with the police, because people after sharing this incident, people will get light, but some people don't know how to move forward with that, whether they want to they want to share, they want to file literally a legal action against the whatever has happened with them. And the second outcomes which we have got is the digital, for this digital boot we'll get a digital communication, computing and the data flows. Also we'll get the data collection and the monitoring the undetected entries. Also we get the information about the cities hotspot areas and the emergency help, or also we can use that digital booth as an emergency help and the bus point. And we can also include the camera, and with the help of the local authority we can also include the police interventions. So overall this idea is about the establish a message booth in a public areas in a Patna city. So we can have the volunteer up to 2 to 4 people. They can volunteer, they can talk people, they can gather, they can promote, and they can share their stories and engaging people. And the stakeholders will require while establishing a digital booth, the local authority, maybe some involvement of the police and the NGOs, or maybe or tech. So that idea is, it can be it can be also we can propose to the other cities as well. And so how the kahani, everyone's stories will look like. So this is some few references images which I have got, because I have seen a booth like in Delhi city. There are a booth in a CP areas. There are a booth, but that is for the charging, mobile charging. So we can also establish a booth like this where everyone share their stories. And the second idea we are pitching about is the safe space interventions. Safe space interventions, which is there. We promote the awareness about the legal implications and the recommendation for actions in such situations. And their focus group, which we are considering, is the marginalized group, women, students, and the working professionals. So what we have proposed in the second idea is that any education schools. So we want to incorporate it in the Stay Safe program as a subject, or maybe as a part of the elective. So because the children, because the बच्चे बहुत ज़्यादा vulnerable होते हैं, so that they know from the initial age, if they are very aware of what are they going through, and because they are not aware of the good touch and the bad touch. As we have seen in India, there are this kind of programs which are which are already promoted, or which are already started in some schools in Gurgaon and Delhi, but not in the Patna city, because it's based on our observations. Patna is a very Bihar overall state as a backward state, and it has a very high crime rates. So that's how we proposed safe stay programs, And for the organization and the particular government or the private institution, we can promote, there will be story sessions or maybe some debate program. We can have it on a weekly basis. So that's how we can create a space to have this conversation for everyone. So that's how the second idea is about the be vocal people, because sometimes people don't share their stories, what they are suffering from it. The second idea is about sharing the stories. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Is any question?
Thank you,
Yes,
Swapnil.
so thank you so much. I'm going to ask one or two judges only to ask a question. So you can raise your hand if you, yes, Eleni.
Hi, and thank you for the beautiful presentation today and the great work you have done as a team. Just a quick question, is there a reason why you focused only on this city?
Yeah, I did that. That is not, I can, as I see, because the Bihar, as in India, there's a very backward state, overall state. And there's a very high crime rate we can see in Bihar. So that's why we have observed a particular city, because we wanted to go with the state to the city, macro to the macro, macro to the micro region. We wanted to go in that way. So that's why we focused on that.
Great, and two little small questions as well. If you go back to your graph over the years, you can see that, as you say here, the overall maximum is in and around after the, yeah, that's perfect. So it's after the 2013. Is it the case that the people didn't report the cases and they started reporting them after that year? Or is it that the crime was lower?
No, crime was not lower. Actually, as I said, Bihar is a very backward state and overall literacy rate is also very low. So people are not registering. The crime rate is very high, but people are not literate. Overall literacy rate is also very low. So after that is what is we have, that is what we have focused about it. Why is it very less register entries? Because that we can see the graph, which is including like 2015, after 2015. The people start, even we have seen the cases which we are registered, it started from 2004 itself, but the number is very less. But we have seen in the increased sudden rises, which is in between 2015 to the 2020-21. So for that, I think that's why we have proposed to booth. People can come and write their message and share their stories, so that we also get the data collected from there. So as per the observations, data is also missing. So we that's why we proposed a booth to also get the data.
Thank you. And if you go to your percentages of the personas of the people that had the experience of the crime, you have the age and you have the gender, but would you have any information in terms of the age of the man or the age of the woman per year?
Yeah, we have seen the only from like from age 18 to 25, they're the maximum number of the cases which are registered.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Elsa Marie.
Thank you.
Reena, would you like to ask the next question?
Yes, so Swapnil, my question is regarding this two pitches that you have made, and specifically around the pitch for a booth. Now, one of the things that you have mentioned is that there is a reluctance to go ahead and file a report or tell the story. So could you explain why you chose a booth, and why do you think that in a public space, booth people will feel more comfortable adding their story there?
Because I think in a public space, everyone will come and share their stories, so that people will see we are not only one in this, we are not the one who is facing this kind of situation. Everyone is our same and everyone is facing their stories. Because as a woman, I feel, because if I see public places in India, but everyone is, when I share my story, then I realize when other person is sharing, that I am not the only one. So I think the idea is talking about that, because by seeing everyone, maybe we can get more strength and courage to share. Okay, I am not the only one. So that is why I choose the public space.
Okay, and if people want to be anonymous about sharing their story, is there a way to do that?
Yes, we can do that. Their names can be anonymous.
All right, thank you.
And I just want to pitch in over here that Swapnil comes from an urban planning background.
Okay.
And that's why she has kind of proposed this, because this was an idea that was in our previous challenge in December. And she heard from some professors from Queensland University Technology, how they were using community walls to collect and crowdsource information. I'm just assuming I'm connecting the dots over here, but
Yes.
the point is that we've had multidisciplinary teams. And so, you know, everybody kind of pitches in with their different backgrounds to come up with solutions. I at least that's my interpretation of it. But thank you, Swapnil. And I know Kavita had a hand up, but we have to move on to the second team. We are keeping very strict timelines.
Thank you so much, Swapnil. That was a beautiful presentation. Thank you so much. We have team 4 up next. I will yield the floor to team 4. Before doing that, I'll just remind once again, we have only 5 minutes. So probably at 4 minutes, 15 seconds, I will ring a bell, a sound of a bell. So you know that you have to wrap up in the next 45 seconds. Thank you so much. Christina? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Do you mind if I just share the screen?
Thank you.
Seema?
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna start. Hello, everyone. Today, joining us today, this is Team 4. My name is Seema. Today, I'm presenting along with my teammate Christina on the topic unexpected assaults. Assaults happen everywhere, anywhere, anytime to anyone. For this data visualization challenge, we chose to look into the assaults that are happening in unusual spaces. We took qualitative data, so we coded the descriptive part of the data into themes. Then we looked into the individual experiences of the survivor, noted down in unusual locations of assaults. Common experience and trends were focused regarding the victim age, location, and the type of assaults. We selected reports made between 2016 to 2021. When we look into data, when does this assault happen? We narrowed down the data into early daylight, a time usually when people think it's safe. Out of all the data, about 40% of the unexpected assaults were between the timing 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. and the rest 60% is from 12 to 3 p.m. Out of the 250 instances, the highest level of assault happened during transportation. This included the bus stations, public transportation, and even walking from home to school or work. This may be considered as expected. However, we found that the assaults which occurred in random spaces, also like markets, gyms, usually visiting the temples with family. There are about 30 instances of assaults having domestic abuse, which included rape, physical abuse, and even human trafficking. This may be difficult for the woman to know how or where to avoid danger. Regarding the transportation, half of the women were assaulted during walking to a destination. This was mainly about being stalked, stared, or verbally teased. Public transportation assault took up about 43%, including groping, touching, and indecent exposures. About 6% of the private transport assaults happen where riding a bicycle or car or taking a taxi, where victims were somewhere taken off the route by a driver or coerced into a sexual act. Over to you, Christina.
Thank you. Why do these assaults happen? When victims were asked why they thought the reason for assault was, 69 claimed that it was purely due to their gender. Some even emphasized that they were not wearing revealing clothing and couldn't find any other reason why it had happened to them. In general, females experience at least one form of assault in a lifetime. Based on the data, teenagers reported being assaulted by family members, classmates, or school tutors. Grown women also recollected similar experiences in their youth. Most women aged 18 to 30 similarly reported assaults taking place in colleges by mentors and peers, and experienced it often on public transport or by strange men passing negative remarks when walking home. This can also be seen in survivors later in life who made the most reports of being stalked coming home from work and being harassed by partners at home. As age increases, we see women over the age of 45 being the most vulnerable to theft and armed robbery in areas of public transport or while visiting the market. According to the data, most cases showed physical, non-verbal assaults by perpetrators. These included things like silently following someone home, unsolicited groping, and physical or sexual abuse. Based on the descriptive evidence, it is often those that should be relied on that perpetuate the assault. Instances were found where the bus or taxi driver themselves singled out the victim and either went a different route than needed or persisted to make the victim uncomfortable by verbal assault or continuous ogling. Similarly, domestic abuse is often caused by one's husband or family members. Friends from school or work were also reported to have assaulted a victim, showing how difficult it is to know who to rely on. On the other hand, strangers continue to stalk victims very close to their home and can sometimes do this routinely. So what's our call to action? Behaviors like these are unfortunately very common. The general population have become almost desensitized to it. But how can this improve? We propose that an assault victim, rather than asking them, what did you do to make this happen? The data showed that many victims were defending their own behaviors, saying they didn't do anything to draw negative attention to themselves, or that they were fully clothed, so it wasn't their fault. So the victim should not be held accountable for the perpetrator's actions. It's important to start implementing educational methods to young children and start teaching young boys, for example, to take responsibility for their actions and to teach them the importance of consent. Community-based group counseling could also be more available to assault survivors to allow them to know that they're not alone in the experience. Similarly, in terms of the bus or taxi drivers, running thorough background checks could also help to avoid instances where these officials and teachers are the perpetrator. Finally, empathy should be exercised within the family and community in general, letting the victim know that they are supported. And most importantly, victims must be able to ask for help and not feel shame doing so. That's our pitch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christina and Seema. That was pretty good. Any jury members want to ask any questions? Okay, Eleni?
Nobody else is asking, so I might as well. Christina, that was a very, very interesting presentation. Can I ask you what was where the idea and the origin came from in terms of the presentation? Because you have uniquely identified the images and your message is coming so clear from the presentation, and you're straight to the point and straight to the point with the solution as well you're proposing. So what really empowered the group to do that or inspired you to do this?
I think we were looking at the data, and rather than just looking at the locations and the type of assaults that were happening, it was really interesting to read the actual descriptions posted by people using Safe City. And yeah, a lot of them gave a lot more information than the rest of the data. So we're able to see places like temples and markets, things that are usually safe. And during the day, it was very strange to see people being assaulted then.
And it is that they're assaulted in places that they should feel safe. If you go to the previous slide where it's crystal clear, the message, you have actually the different personas and yes, that's it. So family members, so home and school, which is the safest, supposed to be the safest places, you know. Thank you very much, Christina.
Thank you.
I would just add to that. Also, while looking at the data, it was very interesting to look about women, just just reading the description, how places like even home or temples, women were, the descriptions were really different. So it makes us, it was a good idea to take this unexpected assault as a topic.
Kavita, would you like to ask the next question? You're on mute.
Thank you, Elsa. Yeah, Seema and Christina, great presentation. I really liked how, the simplicity of your presentation. My question was on the age group slide, if you can go back to that. So yeah, there you go. So definitely, I mean, I think I can see that under the age of 18 years, there's a lot of, assaults happening. Who is the victim here? So one thing I wanted to ask, was there anything in the data that showed whether they were accompanied or were they alone, in the environment in which the incidents happened? Was there any information along those lines?
I think the ones that we came across, at least, they were alone, or maybe somebody would be in a different room. And it would tend to be, there are a lot of examples where they maybe had a friend coming over to study or a tutor, and they would be the perpetrator, or even family members. And then, when there's a family member, it doesn't seem like a threat. So a lot of the time, the parents are just busy doing their own thing.
Got it. Got it. And do you have any data point around the time taken between when the incident happened and when they reported?
No, we kind of mainly focused on the location and the type of. Yeah.
Got it. All right. Thank you, Christina and Seema. Over to you, Elsa.
Thanks a lot. Let's move to the next team.
Thank you, Christina, Seema. Up next, we have team 5. Again, the same rules. I will just yield the floor to Marian. Are you here? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I will share my screen now. All right. Okay. I hope that is visible to everyone.
It is
Okay,
visible. Thank you.
Great. I'll start. Yeah. So our project focuses on public transport in India, and we chose this topic because unsafe transportation directly affects women's access to education and employment if they can't use public transport to go to school or their place of work. And there are 2 main poster visualization elements to the project. I'll be presenting the first, and then Darby will be presenting the second part. So as you can see here, the central element of a visualization is a pie chart. It shows the relative number of incidents in buses, the metro, trains, and autos. And the sectors of the pie chart are then extended by streets and railroads to make space for the voices of survivors. And we are thus making the experiences of survivors visible instead of survivors just being numbers. It also creates a kind of overwhelming experience because there are just so many reports. And then some of the speech bubbles also show graphics instead of text. And the graphics relate to different incident categories, such as groping or ogling or sexual assault. We included them to appeal to a non-English speaking or non-literary audience. The background of the sectors is then color-coded based on the level of danger in different means of public transport. And we use the same colors that are used in public communication about the COVID-19 pandemic, which relates to also seeing gender-based violence as a pandemic. We then also created 2 derivative graphics that focus on the two Indian city districts with the highest case counts, which are New Delhi and Mumbai. And here the graphic focuses more on the categories of different types of gender-based violence, and we use raw case counts here to emphasize the problem. This one is the one for Mumbai. Right. So overall, our pie chart graphics are targeting all users of public transport, and there are 2 main points of impact to the project. Firstly, we want to make commuters aware of the magnitude of incidents of sexual violence happening in public transport. And then based on this awareness, we're including an open call to action in our first visualization. So here in this pitch, we have replaced the word women by people, because in the end, we included all data that was available to us with people of all genders. Well, our open call to action mainly relates to individual vigilance here. So commuters should become more aware of what is happening around them. They can be more alert and then prepared if they're attacked, or also be more likely to spot an attack and then ultimately, hopefully, maybe also step in to stop it. And I'm handing over to Darby now.
While our project caters predominantly to the commuters of public transportation, we also try to design the visualization in such a way that it impacts the stakeholders in the sectors of public transportation, and so that they get a brief idea as to which type of public transportation is more prone to acts of gender-based violence and take necessary actions accordingly. So we analyzed our project, and along with it, we studied the measures taken by different countries in terms of making the public transportation more safer. And these are the safer measures that we could come up with, and we have tried to address the entire structure of transportation. Just a note here that due to time constraints, I will not be able to expand on all the safety measures. I will be doing it only for some of these. So firstly, we have reduced crowding. After studying our data, one thing that we came at was that active measures need to be taken in regards to reducing crowd on public transportation. This can be done by procurement of more buses in case of bus, or hiring private buses. Also, overloading of buses and metro should be strictly prohibited to ensure safety. Secondly, gender sensitization. Having a period of intensive training in gender sensitization before a person is granted license to become either a driver or a conductor will help solve the fundamental problem of internalized gender bias within the first-year stakeholder in public transportation. Next up, we have electronic kiosks, which is very similar to what Team 1 was talking about. If the idea is to make public transportation safer, the experience has to be continuous, and therefore installation of electronic kiosks on bus stops, metro station, etc. will provide survivor with the facility to immediately report a crime, get support in terms of helplines, and also indicate hotspot areas of gender-based violence, similar to what Safe City is doing. And lastly, social specialists. Having a social specialist and gender specialist on the board of the Transport Ministry will help the administration understand the mindset of a survivor and the perpetrator as well, and therefore will provide them with a comprehensive knowledge to make transportation safer and how to implement these safety measures.
Right, thank you. And from here, we would like to take our project further by expanding it firstly to more cities. We also envision our work to be used in safe cities lobbying, for example, and work with administrations and NGOs. But since this is, or these are all posters, our first goal would be to see this posters printed and displayed publicly in metro stations, bus stops, etc., to raise public awareness about gender-based violence and harassment in public transportation. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Marian, and thanks, Dharvi. This was really great. And I know Bhanu wants to ask a question.
Again, I think I remember this presentation from our first discussion. I think this is one of those that really triggered a lot of conversation. If you could go back to your visualization, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of points here. One is the numbers that definitely stand out as the situation is really bad. Have you seen anything in the data that is promising, that goes against the data? Says, by the way, you would expect crime to be higher at this place, but then something positive, any positive trend, any positive deviance, which was unexpected?
I'd like to answer that question.
Sure.
Actually, I live in Delhi, so that was one of the main reasons we chose this topic. And I don't think we saw something positive in the data, but one thing that stood out for me, especially as someone who lives in Delhi, was that the cases reported on metros were more than on buses. So I was really intrigued as to how is that possible. And then Marian and I had a discussion as to what is happening over here, because I talked to people around me and they were like, no, buses will have more cases. And one conclusion that we came to was the type of cases that have been reported. For example, the cases of ogling that are more common on metros were reported more. So that is why the data shows overall more cases on metros, whereas maybe at ground reality, buses have more cases. So the entire data is basically based on the type of cases that were being reported. So as you can see, the most cases in bus is of groping, and on metro it is of sexual invites. So that kind of makes you understand actually what is happening and why is it happening.
Yeah, the reason for asking this is, are there any insights that we could draw with respect to, say, a particular form of transportation that tells us the volume, the pace at which things move, say in the metro versus in the bus, the lighting, any of those indications that can potentially be changed socially that can change behavior or probably even encourage reporting?
Yeah, yeah, Marian, go ahead, please.
There's actually one thing that comes to mind here, because in our initial kind of exploration of the data, we divided the means of public transport into the public ones and the private ones. So initially we had even more means of public transport, and you can see here that the highest cases are for actually like state-owned means of public transport, and autos are privately owned. So I think one of the good things here is that here, like, the government has more of a more power basically to step in and to implement measures.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We are going to keep moving on now. Thanks, Bhanu. Thanks, Marian. Thanks, Darby.
Thank you.
Next team, please.
Hi, we have team 7 now. Do we have the members?
Yes.
Hi, Tessa. Yeah. Over to you. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. So hello, everyone. My name is Tessa, and I speak today on behalf of Team 7. And in our project, we wanted to look at the violence or the harm that is generated after the registered act of violence. So when we put the term post-violence in our title, it already presupposes a certain understanding of what violence is, and our shared common sense or the ruling ideas of violence is built on 2 beliefs. So first of all, that is an act that causes physical damage, and second of all, that it happens in one moment. So there is a physical aspect and a temporal aspect to our general understanding. So our project is motivated by questions that explore the understanding of violence and expand it, and therefore we took a more philosophical approach to think beyond what we already know or what we think to know about violence, using the literature of feminist harm theory as a starting point. So we use the concept of a continuum of violence to categorize harm as violence in order to create a space for all the extra violence, which we consider as harm that is done or implied after the violent momentum. So our target community focuses on the victims and on the survivors and their lived experience of the violent moments in order to address and to minimize the symbolic violence that follows after the violent event, and which is then often overlooked and forgotten. So yeah, what we also see in cases of violence is that gender and sexuality plays an immediate role. And even though the given data set with which we work did not provide information about sexuality, but only about gender, we also articulated the importance thereof as well, not only in the post-violence experience, but also in pre-violence. So our data analysis affirmed the expected and somehow also what we already know. So women experience more violence than men, and the nature of violence against women is sexualized and affects one's physical and emotional integrity, whereas the violence done to men is way less sexualized, even though we don't want to imply any hierarchy of violence either. So for both men and women, we see that a lot of violence does not get reported, where women and non-binary people report even less. So for us, the most important variable was to talk about, was to look at if the people reported or not. So we extracted from the data that the main reasons for not reporting were based on the traditional understanding of violence. So not all violence that counts as violence, as valid violence, prevented victims from reporting. And we believe that if we open up that what counts as violence in our shared beliefs and understanding, that the attempts of reducing stigma and getting more people to report, etc., will be more effective in the long run. So also the effects like depression, PTSD, lack of trust, self-esteem, and regret, and so on. After the violent events that are implied in harm, should therefore get a place in the discourse of violence. So if we can't prevent violence from happening, we can at least try to or start to pay attention to the violence that is implied and caused afterwards. So our suggestions for redress and reparation have more like a meta approach. So it starts more at changing at the roots of how we think about violence and dealing with it. So the counseling and the campaigning and everything that's basically already present is still necessary, but not sufficient if you don't deconstruct like the hidden ideology that is implicit in our general understanding. So in effect, we should focus on people's senses of empathy and sympathy to make people care about violence. But yeah, in essence, it's a major task of making people and governments care by expanding the discourse. Yeah, we had a clip, but I don't know if there is still like 1 minute to show. Then I can share.
Yes, you could go ahead.
Okay, I can try to share screen. Do you see it? This is, yeah. So just to wrap up in this clip, we wanted to show and to represent how this general understanding of violence is already, or like this traditional understanding of violence is like a part of our daily material world and our natural world. So if we see an underwear lying in the street, maybe we think it was someone who lost it, but it can also be part of something violence. But it's like the way how we experience or how we perceive things that can be a result of violence that we don't really deal with. So yeah, in essence, I think in the okay, sorry, we crossed the time. So yeah. The clip, just one line to wrap it up, the clip shows how we produce and reproduce our traditional understanding of violence in the daily discourse. Thank you, and sorry for the...
Do you have a solution to propose?
I think ideally we would start just questioning the traditional discourse through education and through really thinking, reflecting, talking, just a lot of changing the narrative. But that implies that we have to deconstruct our own biases, which is very confronting and difficult.
Thank you. Thank you. May I invite Claire to ask the question?
Thank you for that great presentation, Tessa. It's really interesting. And I'm just curious, I'm wondering if your original, I suppose, goal in creating it and thinking about it in this way was to look at the cultural change in behavior that is needed to shine a light, I suppose, on that side of it. Was that the kind of original thought processes? Because, you know, we would see in our work all of the time the longevity of the harm. You know, it's pervasive and it's permeable, and it lasts for, you know, very long time afterwards. So it's great to see that hidden piece highlighted, and it's also great to see perpetrators highlighted. But the overarching sense I get from it is around that cultural shift in our thinking, that change in our culture and behaviors. Was that what your original thought process was? Were those the pathways?
Yes, exactly. Because we can try, or we like the things we do now is or like the campaigning and the counseling and everything. It is motivated by we want to change culture and we want to like help, but as long as we keep operating on this traditional understanding, it cannot really get the desired effects. I think so. I think it's more like it's so deeply, this violence is so deeply ingrained in our society that we live in, that it becomes invisible. So if we make our processes of thinking more visible, we can also change them. Hopefully.
So it's moving away from the kind of physical incident model.
Yes.
Into the understanding of kind of coercive control and the overarching experience.
Yes, exactly. Because it's like who gets to say what counts as violence as well. I think that's already like a part of a very male-dominated society that recognizes certain acts of violence, and that only recognizes the real physical violence as violence, and all the harm that's done after that doesn't have a place in this violence discourse, but it's still like even in language it's difficult to talk about like the something else that's to also give it the same weight as the real violence. Yeah.
And thank you, because I really like that that you've addressed this in this way, because we hear all of the time from women directly that it's the psychological harm in the aftermath that's actually way worse than the physical violence itself. That's just one tactic. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tessa. Thank you, Claire. That was really powerful. Where will be next? Team, please.
Yes, next we have team 9/11. It's a combination of team 9 and 11. So I'll leave the floor to them. Adam, Riddhi, take it away.
Hi, thanks for having us. I will screen now. So hopefully you can see our visualization, and I'm going to pass over to Riddhi to introduce us.
Yeah. Okay. Time 5 p.m. I'm going back home to New Delhi bus. As I stand in the rush waiting for my turn to get off the bus, something happens. I'm being groped by a face I can barely see. It's blurry. It makes me feel disgusted and anxious. I reach home and tell my family all about it. The first thing I hear, who told you to take bus at this hour? It's because of the sleeveless top you're wearing. Kudos, now this one also lost her purity. Better luck at marriage now. Time 10 p.m. I'm dreaded, scared and traumatized. I wish my family made it better for me. I wish the first response I received was less traumatizing and more supportive. No one talks about the personal violence. the familiar one. I wish home was a safe space after all. What will I do if this happens again? Well, clearly there's no way home, no ally at home, no comfort at home.
This is an epidemic. Yeah, this is an epidemic where, irrespective of the gender, would have gone through a state of emotion, which was blank, with not knowing exactly what happened to us only if there were more awareness. As they say, awareness is the greatest agent for change. Unfortunately, the women are the most effective since they are easy baits and more vulnerable. The statistics will show that they are the ones who suffer for long and the most due to lack of family support. Awareness will change this. Acceptance and will to hear by family would lead to a holistic healing approach, which would make women emotionally stronger with enhanced vigor to bounce back. Hence, myself, Riddhi, Adam, and Donald came up with the title, The Amazing Survivor Woman, No Way Home. The inspiration came from Spider-Man No Way Home, the movie, as we all know, where women are superheroes as they go through a lot, but still they don't want to go home because of the shame they face.
And then on slide 2, we chose to focus on this theme mainly because family occupies such a central role in people's lives. And so for many people, seeking support from their family comes very naturally. However, for Indian women, this support is not always available. In a study on the impact of state intervention measures funded by the Ministry of Women and Child Development, it was found that family pressure and the fear of insult to family made up the primary factor in victims' hesitancy to file a report in over half of all incidents. And then on the next slide. Additionally, seeking support from family can be quite traumatic given the nature of their responses, which can deprive them of their confidence to report the issue, talk about it with others, or seek further emotional support. The age profile of the victims of gender-based violence from the Safe City dataset also means that many of them are still very dependent on their families, and so the immediate responses of the victim's family can be quite traumatic.
So just to reflect then on what my teammates have said, the heroes here are the survivors, first and foremost. What they go through and the strength they have to persevere through such hardship is incredible. But the heroes also we want to paint as the families and the communities that are there to support them and to increase cultural awareness and positive cultural change to being these heroes, to being there to support these women in their hour of need. So then just to look at where we might go with this next. So our area of focus is the first response by family, and we're seeking to create positive change by changing culture at the local level. So how we would aim to do this is to collaborate with local communities and local champions, such as gender labs in Delhi and Mumbai, and to teach families and to sensitize parents on how to behave in the case that a woman has been traumatized. And we're seeking to do this with 3 A's: awareness, acceptance, and action. All of these are vital. Awareness of what women and other groups that have experienced gender-based violence have gone through, acceptance of what they've been through and what they need, and action to create change and to support them. And just a final note from me, this is a personal one. Jackson Katz is my role model in working in this area, and I think it would be remiss of me to note that as a team, we've really been led by Riddhi here. She is a woman in India, and she has really led us as a team. And I think working together, 3 men supporting women, a woman, I think it's easy to not acknowledge the amount of work that women have already done in this area, and that as men, we are supporting years and years of incredible work for all of you. So I just want to say thank you to my team, thank you to Riddhi, and thank you to all of you for your incredible work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that was great. And lovely that all of you all contributed to it. I'm going to ask Ritu, does she have a question? Because I think you enjoyed this visualization.
I think Ritu just left and she'll be back again.
Okay. Is there any jury member? Afreen, would you like to ask a question?
Oh, I think can you hear me, Elsa?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I'm going to be more on the silent side today. Not literally, too many questions, but I'm observing some of them specifically from the perspective of which ones could actually be picked up for mentoring further with some of the governments that I work with. I really like the overall visualizations, and I've spent like good amount of time literally watching them, each one of them, judging them. So yeah, I don't have questions for anyone there.
Okay, thank you. So we really are running out of time. So let's go to the last one, Vaibhavi. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Up next, we have our last team, which is team 10. Shauna, are you here?
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so will I share my screen?
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Respected jury, members of Red Dot Foundation and volunteers. I am Ananya from Team 10. As Malala Yousafzai said, I raise my voice, not to shout, but so that without a voice can be heard. And nothing gives me more pleasure than presenting our views on this data, interpreting it, and providing concrete solutions to the same. We must take from there on. As depressing and sad the topic of domestic violence is, we are here to discuss the solutions, standing for our rights. So what is domestic violence? People try to control others, a very human instinct, but it crosses lines. Domestic violence, also referred to as intimate partner or domestic abuse, takes place in an intimate relationship, can happen to both genders, but today we are looking at a biased lens, looking at how it affects women. Some relationships are abusive from the start, and it may not be easy to identify when they are starting and how they are developing. Slowly and steadily, they accelerate. And they can be verbal, calling names, saying hurtful words, physical, like causing bruises or even breaking bones. Sexual assaults and emotional abuse can also be there, leading to depression, total stress, and irritable bowel movements, etc. We have a small video to explain it better. Shauna, please. Can we have the audio, please?
You know, when you share your screen, you might have to tick that box at the bottom that says share audio.
Sorry, there's that.
Before you share your screen.
Yes.
So stop sharing and share again.
Thank you for being so patient, ma'am.
Domestic abuse is often a hidden crime happening behind closed doors. Unfortunately, it is so embedded in the daily lives of some that victims and perpetrators may not realise such behaviour is abusive.
Domestic abuse does not discriminate. Anyone can be a victim or perpetrator, people of any gender, any sexuality, and from all walks of life.
Until victims are aware that there is a safe environment to share their concerns, they will continue to hold on to the secret of domestic abuse.
Domestic abuse takes many forms and is about power and control.
Verbal abuse,
Controlling you, financial abuse,
sexual abuse, and physical abuse.
We recognise that victims may have concerns that prevent them from speaking out or seeking help. You have the right to feel safe. Help is out there. You are not on your own. Tell someone.
Now Shauna, my teammate, will take us through the mirage that data is. Shauna, please.
So for the data, we were particularly looking at in the various ways in which Indian women are impacted. So as you can see here, 1 in 3 Indian women suffer at the hands of their family members. We wanted to make it quite easy for people to look at, so we do have some graphs throughout. So here we looked at both urban and rural. As you can see, physical violence is higher in both. Then we looked at the cases of domestic violence in terms of the top 5 states. And as you can see here, it's Delhi and Bihar that rate the highest between March to September 2020. Then in regards to the abuse of married women, we looked at sexual assault, physical assault, and verbal abuse. And as you can see here, 26% of all ever married women have experienced at least one form of violence. 33% of all ever married women have experienced physical, emotional, or sexual harassment, and 4% have experienced at least one form of violence during pregnancy. So then in regards to the cases of marital rape, 12,437,260 females, or 5.4%, have suffered from marital rape. 10% have sought help, and 66% have experienced physical or sexual violence when their husband gets drunk often. Then in regards to the violence against a girl child, we disaggregated the ages, and as you can see here, from the age of 12 onwards, it does tend to increase then drastically from the ages of 2 to 6. So the particular focus here and the narrative we really wanted to look at is how it does impact women, and then specifically the fact that fewer than 10% of women have reported that they left their husbands, despite the fact that this may be going on behind closed doors. So of these women, the vast majority return to their abusive homes, with more than 55% reporting that they perceive violence as normal. So the whole task here is what we wanted to look at was how on, on a root level, how we could actually change that. So, Inanya?
Yes. So we have designed some posters that include important phone numbers and information that can be hung up in places like railway stations, bus stands, or simply schools and public places where people can look at it and really introspect if someone they know or they themselves need help. And we can paint wall murals also on the same places with highlighting the information that needs to be shared. Also, the police stations, Anganwadi, help desks, all of them should know that all the important numbers, all the important places that women who are under stress or being abused can go and seek help. Next slide. Next. Yes, please. It is also important that we encourage and ensure that the victims know that they are in a safe place, that if they even share their stories and if they want to remain anonymous, they will be remained. So we have to open channels of communication through private or public forums. Like the Safe City itself is a platform where people are putting up their requests on how they are facing issues. These channels create a space where people are secure enough to share their experiences. And we also need to facilitate the reporting process. FIR, etc. really are not the things we people do on a daily basis. Women who are under stress may not have the ample amount of resources to do that. We have to make sure that they are able to go to places where they can file reports and, seek help. Next slide. Also, we have to make sure that they have access to economic resources and education. People who are more educated are more likely to stand up for themselves. The responses to domestic violence has also led to that acceptability of that violence is a part of marriage. Like we saw earlier, more than 50% or 55% of women return to their homes. It's psychologically depressed women's deaths. This all leads to that maybe this violence is a part of marriage. But this is not so. We have to change that narrative. This is now how it should be. And so we have designed 10 posters for the same. Next. So this is 3-in-1. This is really highlighting what, do we have to speed up? Is it like—
Yes, you need to speed up, please.
Yes, Shauna, just show all the posters. Yeah, we want them to be printed and regulated at places. All these have strong designs, really eye-catchy, and can be translated into various languages so that people of all the can help from this.
So to sum up, basically, be the change you wish to see in the world. So it's something that, like the posters, it's something that can be easily done, but it's a matter of actually getting people involved at the grassroots level to change the overall view. So while some relationships are abusive from the very beginning, abuse can start subtly. So it's very important that people are taught to recognise that and to not accept it within a marriage. Domestic violence can take several forms, as we've said, but there's hope for the victims, and many institutions are taking up the agenda. So with regards to distributing posters and, you know, just providing general information for victims, we feel that it could help a lot. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to, in the interest of time, I'm going to ask Eleni to ask you the question, and also the previous team, because I am reminded that there is a weightage given to the questions asked and the answers given. So Eleni, over to you.
Thank you, Elsa Marie. A quick question for this current team here now. If you go back to your narratives, you mentioned there that it's high likely women that are not highly educated to, I think it's number 4.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Did that come up through the data? Did you have social and educational data within the database, or is this something that came up from your own research?
Ma'am, actually what happened was, when I was seeing the data regarding to Bihar, the literacy rate over there is not that high. And so is the FIR and the rate of people seeking for help. So I saw that there is a correlation between how much educated a woman is and how likely she is to seek out help. So from that, I took out that the more likely a woman is socially dependent, well, economically dependent on her own self, is independent in terms of financial status, she's more likely to seek out help and leave her current husband if he's really abusive and everything considered.
And do you have a number for this correlation analysis?
No, ma'am, I don't have, but I'll be sure to submit it later if you want.
It would be interesting to compare it as well with other countries where there is a high proportion of educated women and they don't really. So maybe there is another factor as well. That's why when we did the masterclass, and I wanted to emphasize the statistical analysis in the correlation matrix is very important, especially when you are having a knowledge acquisition of this type and generalizing. I would be really careful on that. But thank you, Anaya. Is it possible, Elsa Marie, to ask another question, the previous group?
Sorry, yes.
Is anybody from the previous group here?
Yeah, would you like me to reshare our visualization? Or?
No, I just want to ask you a question. Did you use the Python notebooks to analyze your data?
Yes.
And if you had a chance to advance this piece of work, what data would you be looking for?
So we discussed, Riddy in particular, given her connections on the ground, we had discussed going out and actually obtaining data, as in designing questionnaires with the purpose of obtaining data from the local communities to highlight a number of things, to highlight areas of the country that maybe data isn't collected for, and getting to know the communities better so that we can then present that as evidence and visualize it in a way that communicates to the stakeholders, which would be the communities on the ground, communicates to them in a way that they can understand it. So we really took on Krutika's story-based method for that. Not sure if that answers your question, but if any of my team can jump in.
Yeah, I mean, what was the missing value in the data set then?
So there were no missing values per se, but there were missing cohorts.
Okay, missing parameters in the features, yeah?
Not necessarily, just the how would I put it? There are people in the communities that really knows, who have stories to tell, and their stories are not captured in the data. So it is, I suppose, moving from this larger data set to a hyper localized data set, but not disregarding the previous data, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, but still your role play and your presentation showed that you could manage to retrieve the personas from the data set, which was captured lovely. Thank you, Adam, and thanks
Thank
to
you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Eleni, for that quick round of questions. Now I'm going to let the jury go into a breakout room to confirm the 3 top winners. So Webavi and Tanya, please take the jury into the breakout room. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask the participants of the program, and Webavi, yeah, they have just 5 minutes. I've given them really strict time of 5 minutes, but I wanted to hear the process. The process that y'all went through. I know 3 weeks is not much time, but can you share what you learned, one thing that stood out, one thing working across teams? I also want to acknowledge Adam for willing to give an extra class to his colleagues to work on Python and other visualization methods, because not everyone came from a data analytics background or an engineering background. So thank you for that, Adam. But who wants to share? Anyone wants to share very quickly one thing that you learned or stood out for you? Riddhi? Oh, Ayush, I see you on
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that one of the best things that I got out from this 2 weeks, 3 weeks course was that it was very difficult to, manage time between Indian time and the time. There was a lot of problem, and specifically we faced that in our meetings, and it was very difficult. But the thing was that Riddhi took out, I would give Riddhi a round of applause in our team, because she was the one who was actually driving us, and she was the one who was on the ground. She knew what was happening. She knew the entire crux of everything. So I would like to thank Riddhi and also all my teammates and also Red Dot Foundation for this event.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to share their thoughts? Okay, Sahil says team 1 used to have a meet at midnight. Okay, midnight India time. That's commitment, I would say. Who else wants to share? Riddhi?
Yeah, I think I really want to appreciate. So when our team was made, even though it was changed again, like our 2 teams were merged, but even then the participation was just not enough. And Adam, Ayush, and Donald, we all of us really got together at the last minute, and then all of this came up. And I've never done a project which was so last minute, but turned out to be this decent or this creative. And I really appreciate how I was not there, so I just gave a basic idea, and later, like after that, like 2 or 3 hours later, I just saw the whole visualization, and they had done it all together. They had all summed it up, and it was just brilliant to see that, because I was not even in the meet. I left the meet and then they did it. And especially I think Donald. So I actually saw Donald for the first time today, and I think that's true for all of us. I mean, it was so last minute for him. We gave him the most important 2 slides which actually had the data, and he managed to summarize all of it in such a brilliant way. And then Adam also took up the next step in such a brilliant way, and Ayush also always ensured that everything, because earlier my plans were to just hyper localize the data which was not matching the actual visualization idea, so he put us on the right path. So yeah, I think it's a great team effort. Thanks everyone.
Thank you. That's fun that everything came together like the Indian Jugaad. Who else wants to share? I want to hear these stories. They're so interesting. Somebody else from another team.
Yes, hello ma'am, from team 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
We learned how to really depend on our own selves. We started with 6 members, then we got reduced to 5, and today only I and Shauna were working on this project. So it was only the two of us, and we had to go through all the data and everything. Not today, a week before, we were going through all the data and everything, and we were just like, none of us had really studied technology. She has done sociology and I'm from psychology. So that's what we can talk about for hours, like how it impacts women, but not the data thing. So it was really interesting to go through all the data suddenly and see like data is immense. It's such a vast thing, like rows and rows of JavaScript and written all in data. It was eye-opening in terms of, yes, data is really important.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think it's a 21st century life skill that everybody must have to know how to interpret data, visualize data, because we use data for our decision making, So,
yes, ma'am, all the policies and everything I used making these data, I was really surprised.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I think it was the same for us in Team 4. It was just me and Seema for most of it. And similarly, like she does architecture and I do psychology. So all of it was kind of more new to us, but it was interesting. Like we learned a lot through the master classes and everything.
Great, that's great to hear. And how was it, like somebody from an architecture background and psychology, like how does that work out? Like how were you surprised that maybe you had different perspectives looking at the same problem?
Yeah, I think so. I think that happened a few times, but then we eventually kind of learned each other's perspectives and kind of tried to meet in the middle.
Okay.
But yeah, like other people said, the psychology part of it was very interesting, like the solutions and everything. Things like the bias and stigma, especially in different cultures, was interesting.
I noticed Marion has her video on. Would you like to share?
Yeah, just briefly. I mean, we also had a similar problem where we started with 5 team members, I think, and ended up with 2. But that kind of also enabled an easier communication, I think, overall. And yeah, so in our team, I was kind of in charge of the data and getting the data because I'm from a natural language processing background. So I do have some data analytics skills, I suppose. And then kind of the driving force and the main visualization ideas came from Darby. So we fit well together, I think.
That's nice to hear. And were there any challenges working across borders for you, like Ireland and India? And did you find any similarities in your experiences outside of the data set?
Well, the main challenge, of course, was the time, I think. And then also kind of my own time management, that because I'm a PhD, so there is like a lot going on always. And yeah, but I think it's a good cause for what we're doing this year. And I think that's also what we have in common, that we really think that this is an important issue and we wanted to do something.
Great. And does Sahil want to say something?
Hi, Elsa, Swapnil this side.
Yes, Swapnil, go ahead.
When I look through the data, it was like lots of things, lots of permutations, combination. It is very difficult to come up with a particular city or to choose a particular state. So yeah, there's a lot of data and it's very difficult to, how to visualize it. And that masterclasses are really helpful to understand how we can visualize. So that's why you have to choose this particular state in a particular city from a micro to micro level. Yeah, it is really great experience. And then, yeah, like Sahil said, we used to have meet at like 12 a.m. like IST timing. So it's very difficult to communicate because of the GMT and the IST timings. So yeah, it's very helpful. Masterclass are really helpful. All the masterclass, I've gone through all the recordings and it's really helpful.
Okay, I see the jury is back, so I'm really curious. So to hear the scores. And I know we have to make a quick dash for it because Alison has to leave very quickly. So I'm not sure if Webavi is back or I know Tanya and Webavi are still in the room with Eleni. But in the meantime, Alison, do you have any thoughts, from what you saw and heard?
Well, overall, I've just been incredibly impressed with everyone's work, and it's been great to actually hear how the teams operated and the dynamics that went on. And I totally, as someone who lives in India and my HQ is in Dublin, I completely sympathize with these problems around time differences. We're just finishing up for the day and we start getting loads of emails demanding information from us. So I totally feel what you're saying about the difference in time zones. I mean, first of all, I would really just like to thank everyone for participating. The standard is so high, and I really hope that people enjoyed the challenge and that they learned something through the masterclasses and through working together. And I hope they've been inspired, and actually listening to the teams. You can see how personally this has affected people, and I hope that they'll be able to take this insight they've received from working on these projects and bring it out and share it with their friends and wider community, so that we really do start making an impact on awareness raising on gender-based violence and possible solutions to it. And I think the solutions, the next steps are so important in these kind of projects. So it's not just that you gain this extra knowledge, but you also get an insight into what we can do next and how we can influence positive change in our society. So it's great to see that focus on what to do next, and really thank you to all the teams for just amazing work, really great work.
Okay, thank you so much, Alison. I'm just wondering, they've not yet come back, so I'm a little confused as to, so maybe we hear from one of the jury members, how intense was the discussion? So maybe Bhanu, do you want to say, your experience as a jury?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is definitely one of the best visualization exercises I've seen in a long time. A lot of interdisciplinarity, I think, has definitely helped this cause. Then the master classes, I can see the way they have added the value into the overall sessions. And I'm actually keen to take some of these back to a corporate setting like ours and introduce this in a larger setting, so we could start one of the largest employers in India. So we would like to definitely involve more folks and get people involved and see how we can start conversations in the office about this.
Thank you for that. Webavi, do we have any scores?
We do.
Okay, great. So are we ready to announce?
Tanya, can you help me out with the scores?
Okay, so I think we have some complicated winners. We always end up with this situation. So I'm just going to say, yes, we can go ahead with that. Okay. So can you please share with Wendy the third place winners, so that Wendy D'Souza, our partner from Education in Ireland, can announce the winners.
Done.
Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me clearly.
Yes.
I think, just watching this today, it was really very heartwarming. The way the teams have visualized the whole data is fantastic, and really enjoyed, some of the solutions that are recommended. And if it can be implemented, kudos, really kudos. It will be really great to all of us, making, it a safer city for not only women, but also men, because I do agree that, these kind of things happen to both sex. Yeah. Red Dot and Consulate General of Ireland, Mumbai, fantastic. I mean, great job done on getting this, having Ireland and India to collaborate on this. And I really hope that, we can do more such things across the border, across various fields of studies. And now the third prize basically goes to team 7 with 477.5 points. So congratulations, team 7.
So if we can all unmute and clap our hands, because if we were in a real room, it would be that. And can we also spotlight the team?
Yeah, where is team 7? If we spotlight them, maybe pin them.
But they need to put on their videos for that. So well done, team 7. If you can put on your video, and please, can we please all have your videos ready, because we have to, get going really quickly.
Yeah.
So Weberby, if they are not willing to switch on their video, can you please call out who is team 7?
Where's Tessa? Where's Tessa?
Okay, so Tessa. Fine, maybe she's left.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not there. Okay, so thank you, Wendy, for that. Let's move to the team.
I can call team 7 if that's okay, because it's worth the recognition. Pratik Bedi, Phoebe Doyle, Shakshi Murarka, Niharika Shinha, and Tessa Van Brabant.
Okay, great. So that's team
7.
Again, round. Okay, yeah. So, Eleni, did you just announce the second team?
No, that was team 7.
Okay, team 7. So congratulations, team 7. And let's move on to the next second prize, and Eleni is going to announce it.
Yes, and I will need some help with the names because I don't have it in my PDF. I just want to congratulate for the second place. We have team 5 with 517 points on the clear display of public transports through the gendered lens of crime and solution. Congratulations. And the
Marian and Darby. Marian
Thank
and
you very
Darby.
much. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Yes. Thank
And
you.
Dharvi, yeah, I can't see her.
Congratulations.
Okay, great.
She
And
told me
now
her internet connection wasn't that good.
Okay, so congratulations. And for the final one, we have Alison announcing, and we do have a complicated first prize because 2 teams, the jury decided, deserve the first prize. So over to you, Alison.
It's with great pleasure that I announce the 2 teams that have won, and I'm delighted that they are that it's gone to these. So first team is team 4 for unexpected assaults, explaining the daytime age indicators to corroborate assaults of sexual offences in unexpected places. And the second first prize goes to team 11, visualizing the concept of Marvel movie series with survivors of domestic violence and coloring them as the real heroes, where with no way home. But, I'd never make a news and answer. So team 4, the points were 532, and team 11, the points were 529, but so close that both have been awarded a well-deserved first prize.
So congratulations to both the teams. Thank you, Alison. And, in fact, yeah. So Weberby, do you want to read out the names of the 2 teams, please? Weberby, you're on mute.
In team 4, we have Christina and Seema.
Okay, congratulations, Christina and Seema.
In team 11, we have Riddhi, Donald, Ayush, and Adam.
Great. Congratulations, all of you. In fact, I would say that everybody is a winner because y'all put in the hard work, y'all made the effort, y'all learned something new, and y'all were brave enough to go through this whole challenge. But for the purposes of, some fun, and we had to have this competition and had to grade you. So yeah, but don't stop here. Please keep the connections going, improve on the visualization. You can always reach out to us. We are happy to have you intern with us, or we can put you in touch with our partners. I see Tessa's also here. So if everybody can switch on their videos, especially the winning teams and jury members, and we'll just take a quick screenshot so that we can, and we have 2 screens, so bear with me. So yeah, Shauna, would you like to switch on? Anima, Satyam. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go to the second screen as well. 1, 2, 3. So thank you very much for this wonderful challenge. I know Alison had to leave, but she also shared her thoughts. Alison, any closing words before you leave?
Just thank you very much to everyone. It was a real pleasure to partner with Red Dot Foundation and with UCD College of Science and Education in Ireland. And I really hope genuinely that there's friendships have come out of this, and that there's been a real connection between Ireland and India because of this project. And I hope that we all have taken something from this, and really thank you to the judges for taking time out of their busy schedules to put so much effort into this. And congratulations to everyone. Well done.
Thank you, Alison, and we'll let you go. I know Eleni also has to go, but we'll hang around for another 10 minutes. So if everybody wants to just speak, share, we are here. You can share your experiences. We can continue to do so. Thank you. I'd like to hear from Claire. Claire, what are your thoughts? Should we do this again next year and involve more Irish organizations? I see Anne-Marie Quinn is from IPA. You're here from Safe Ireland. We would love to partner with all of you.
Thank you, Elsa Marie. Absolutely. I think doing it again next year is a great idea. It's been a fantastic experience, and we need champions on this issue, and everybody on every team are new champions on this issue. So use your sphere of influence to share the knowledge that you've gained through this experience, and that will help us all. So thank you. I do have to go now. I have another meeting to go to. Thanks again, and take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Anne-Marie, I wanted to ask for your thoughts. Sorry, you're on mute.
Yes. I was so impressed by all the presentations and the amazing work that went into it, but also the whole element of collaboration between Ireland and India, and it has been just amazing the work that was done within a few months, because I took participated in the visualization session there a few weeks ago, and what has emerged, but I hope it doesn't stop here, because all the participants have so much more to offer, and I hope that they will encourage other people to engage. So thank you to Red Dot Foundation and to our council from Ireland and India, and to the judges. And I'm delighted that our university here in Ireland was so much part of it. So thank you to all, and it was an amazing achievement.
Thank you, thank you. I see Christina has her video on. Would you like to say a few words?
Not really. I honestly didn't expect to get this far, let alone actually be first. So because it was the actual theme of this and everything was what I was mainly interested in. And like others were saying as well, passion, I think, really tied me and Seema together. So it was just nice. It was all a very nice experience. Thank you.
Thank you. And I saw Tessa came in. Tessa, you have won a prize. So can we share with Tessa what prize she won? Thanks, Eleni. Bye.
Team 7 is the second runner-up, third winner.
Okay, great. So Tessa, well done.
Thank you. Yeah, my computer just died. It's a bit of an amateur thing now, but yeah, sorry. But good. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Adam, would you like to share?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're all blown away. Just in our Discord group, laughing away to each other. We had we didn't think we'd make it this far. Jenny Mac, our team changed so many times. We didn't even know if we'd have a visualization in the end. But yeah, we're all delighted, and thank you so much to all the organizers. Thank you so much to the team and everyone else that was involved.
Great. Ayush, you have your camera on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm awestruck. I can't believe it that we won with the first prize, because we changed so much. We changed teams. We did so much at last minute, and yeah, we are so happy. Yeah.
Great. I'm going to ask Suzanne, who's our board member and our, she's on our leadership team in the US. Suzanne, can you put on your video or audio and share if you saw what you saw?
Hello, it's good to see everyone. I don't know, I was just very impressed with the array of ideas and approaches and presentations. They were very creative, and I've really just been listening and absorbing some different strategies. I work with the on the data end of things, and the research articles, publishing, things like that. And one thing about our organization, because we're small and agile and flexible, is, we're always looking for, projects, things that will tell these stories, because there's really not enough of them out there being told. For instance, we've been talking with Rutledge about doing some publications. They came to us after we presented in Sweden at a conference, because they're literally getting no submissions by women, no submissions about gender ever since the pandemic started. Female scholars have just been sidelined, not by any intention, but just by, the women still do a lot of the caretaking work. And when kids went home and, elderly went home from nursing homes, and women ended up doing a lot more of the work. Women in the academy are much more likely to be in the teaching space. So that got a lot busier being online. And so the research end is, diminished, especially around gender issues. So we're very eager to work with. We work with students. We have interns that have been fantastic that we elevate through the organization. So I hope, some people will consider continuing and, maybe collaborating to do some different things. But, just really impressed with the work, that I've seen here. Really impressive.
Great. Riddhi, how are you feeling?
I just wrote on the Discord group that I turned off my video because I was practically numb, and I didn't know how to react, because I was really not expecting this. I mean, I was satisfied with the end result. I was kind of satisfied with the end result, but I was really, I'm also so happy that the team members were able to tolerate me, because even at the end, just before 5 minutes, I was sending last minute changes on Discord to Adam that let's add this also. And Adam said that you need to chill. You need to take a deep breath, because don't make these last minute changes. And I realized that he was right. And I'm still in the process of digesting the fact that we actually pulled this off. But thank you so much. I mean, I especially remember the masterclass. In our meetings also, I brought that up again and again. I remember Kritika took a masterclass on creative visualizations, where she also showed a lot of doodles. And so I basically took most of my inspiration from that particular masterclass. And I think that was really, really helpful. So yeah, kudos to that particular masterclass. I think that was really
great. Niharika, do you want to say something?
Yeah, hi. Am I audible?
Yes.
It was a very nice experience for us. We used to meet on Google Meets, not on Google Meets, on Zoom meetings, and we used to discuss our plans and used to execute them accordingly. We used to have kind of deadlines to complete the works, and the people used to complete those works on time, and Tessa worked so hard to compile those works. So thanks to my team that they work so efficiently, and um, we are today on 3rd place. So it's good. Thanks.
Wonderful, wonderful, great, great. I wanted to ask Seema. Seema, would you like to say something?
I'm still in shock, but I'm really in shock. But yeah, this was really an amazing experience. Like, thank you, Red Dot and Safe City. And I mean, I was clueless on the first day, and I'm like clueless on the last day with the result. But this was really an amazing experience. I made a good friend, and I mean, thank you for all the masterclasses. I actually joined up because I was too excited about, the masterclasses, and this was really an amazing experience. So thank you so much.
Thanks. Shauna?
Hi, yeah, I just want to say thank you for overall. It was very insightful, and just obviously I come from a social policy and sociology background, but even it was slightly different with the data visualization more. So it was very, it's definitely something that I'll take going forward. And it was an excellent experience. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot. Yeah. And Pat? Is Pat there? Okay, great. So thank you, everyone. And it was really, really interesting watching your journey over the last 1 month. And I hope you will keep in touch. Like Suzanne said, we have internships, and we'd love to also collaborate with you. So if you want to, if you have a hypothesis that you want to test out, feel free to reach out. If you want to write a paper on this data visualization, let us know. We are happy to partner with you on that. So thank you, and have a lovely day, evening, wherever you're joining in from. And thank you, Vaibhavi, Tanya, Sheila, and the rest of the team who've, been so diligent in the background in making this happen. So thank you.
Thanks very much.